Good afternoon, everyone. It's Michelle from Leveroni Family Farm. It is Sunday, April 26th, and I brought most of the plants out to put under our, I call it a greenhouse. I don't know if you'd call it a greenhouse. We have shade up on it. This used to be an old carport that we kind of turned into a greenhouse. We have tables that we have set up with plants on it. As you can see, my temporary little greenhouse that I had stuff under, like squash and that needed to be covered at night. But this video, I'm going to be doing about 10 different mistakes that I have made growing plants over the years. First one is pay attention or find out what your last frost date is. I can't tell you how many countless times I have brought out tomato plants, put them in the ground, then it froze overnight and my tomato plants were dead, or my seedlings were dead. That happened to me many years till I finally figured out, okay, well, I'm doing something wrong. So I looked it up, and I believe for Seligman it is May 19th. I do have it written down somewhere in my notes. Got a garden journal here with my 10 things. So anyway, I'll get back to it. Something else that I never really paid attention to was the germination time or germination rate, how long it actually takes something to sprout. Because if you're working with the last frost date, and then you need to add on whatever the additional, if it's 7 to 10 days or 7 to 14 days, 21 days, whatever the germination rate is. So say it's May 19th, you want to go 3 weeks ahead of the last frost date, and then in addition to that you want to add how many days it is to germinate before you get everything planted. It'll help when you go to put your transplants out into your garden. The third thing is starting cool weather crops or warm weather crops, either one, too early. It's either too hot in the summertime sometimes for the cool season crops, and too cold for warm season crops as well. Number 5, what I was just talking about, putting seedlings out too early. Some things you can put out, like in the garden. I don't know if you can see, but we have peas out there, we have potatoes and cabbage planted already, and they're doing good. And they're not covered. They've been tolerating the cooler temperatures at night, but it's supposed to be like 50 tonight. It's quite warm today. I'm not sure exactly what the temperature is, but it's at least in the 80s. It's supposed to be triple digits in Phoenix, so usually we're like between 10 and 15 degrees cooler than whatever Phoenix is. Okay, number 6. Hardening off seedlings and plants. It helps the plants get used to whatever the weather is. I always thought hardening off had to do with cold, but it also has to do with heat too. If it's too hot, then you need to put the plants out for a short time, at least in the shade to begin with, and then let them have a little bit of sun after they've been out, for a couple days in the shade, getting used to just being outside. That's probably been more of a factor for me than the cool, trying to put them out when it's too cold. Number 7, not enough water in a raised bed or in a container. Last year we had a problem with that. We had many days over 80 degrees. It was closer to 90 and 100 throughout the summertime, so it just was way too hot. and we couldn't keep up. It just, the beds just got too dried out. We didn't mulch that much last year. Like this year we're going to mulch like crazy. Number 8 happens to be not using mulch in the garden. We're definitely going to do that this year. You can kind of see down here in that bed with the irises, we have a pretty thick layer of straw in that bed. That's just a flower bed. But the rest is going to have that on there too. We just have to get more straw or hay or whatever we can get. Number 9, trying to keep cool crops growing in warm weather and cool. That kind of goes back to number 3, starting too early. You can extend the season a little bit if you cover them. I'm thinking like a cut-off milk jug or a low tunnel with plastic over the top or a blanket over the top, something so the frost can't get on the actual plant or moisture to freeze the plant. Okay, we're on number 10. Number 10, not using any fertilizer in any stages of the plant. Growing, using organic fertilizer is preferred for us. We try not to use any chemicals. I forgot to mention back in number 7 not to overwater. That's not enough water, but don't overwater either, because that's been a problem. I've overwatered everything, but now we finally have a moisture meter, but like this here, that's from being overwatered. They all look kind of sad. That's part of the reason why I brought them out today. They haven't had any fertilizer put on, and they've been overwatered, and probably not enough sun either. So some of them look good, some of them look kind of sad. I'm guessing this one is one of the ones that is overwatered too. Some of them did. Some of the containers didn't have holes, like the cottage cheese containers. That one doesn't have one. It needs to have some poked in. That one I actually did. I poked some holes in it and let some of it drain out, so that's kind of dry, but that's okay. Dry is a little bit better than too wet. You can always add moisture, but it's hard to take it away. Okay, I have a bonus. Actually, I have 2 bonuses, and I've learned this the hard way. Bonus 1, or number 11, don't leave the gate open when you have free-range chickens or ducks. To go in and level all your hard work, and it's very, very frustrating. I can say firsthand. I've had to fix the raised beds, I think 3 times, because probably me personally, I've left the gate open. I ran into the house to grab something and didn't shut the gate, and was wanting to just come right back. Well, in that few minutes, they can be very, very destructive and ruin everything. Okay, bonus number 2, or number 11, I guess, on my list. Try writing everything down. Make sure you know what worked, what didn't. When you're watering, what you're using for fertilizer, when you're putting it down. I never remember a lot of that stuff, so I have to write it down or I will absolutely forget. Part of this bonus as well, as far as writing down, make out a schedule of what needs to be done. When do I need to plant this? When does this need to be watered? What's the next step? That's pretty important, and that's something we're still in the process of figuring out. But I think for now we're only going to water at least the outside beds once a week. The containers, they dry out a little bit more. These are looking a little bit droopy, but not too bad. They just finally come out and got some sun today. But we also had a problem with aphids in the house. The aphids came from store-bought plants, which stinks, but I can't, there's nothing we can do about it unless you're looking completely over the plant. Anyway, that's my 10 and my 2 bonus ones. Thanks for being with me today. Have a good day. Blessings, y'all.